What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to WWE Champions mobile app. I am the evil Skull King, Rusty Graves, and with me, as always, the champion of Eternia, Lee Brown.
I'll take it. You know, He-Man was my favorite thing growing up, so I have the power, Rusty. And how are you doing, sir?
You do have the power. I was actually thinking about He-Man the other day, and maybe a glaring omission from our game is my favorite character on He-Man. Help me remember his name. Was it Orko? He was kind of so Orko's. There's no semblance of him as a champion's character in the game. That'd be really cool to see Orko come at some point.
That would be cool, although it might get a little bit dicey. Like, who are you going to have be Orko? Like, Hornswoggle comes to mind, but then you start getting into like sizeism and
you know. He doesn't have to be small. He doesn't have to be a little person to play a little person in the game. I don't know. Maybe this is not quite the turn I thought we were going to take mentioning Orko. But, what's going on? We've got a guest today.
That's right. Well, on the Champions Chat podcast for the first time, we have Mike Fish from our favorite part of our history in the Black Pearl and from the Waffle Box podcast. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, fellas? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. So we're going to do something special this episode. We're starting a multi-part series on running a faction, because that's something Rusty and I have no insight into whatsoever. We've been officers, we've never started, we've never tried to maintain. Then we're going to talk about the current MLC, and as always, we're going to get into WWE Chat. But Mike, you run the Black Pearl. Big part of our heart, love the Pearl. Why don't you tell us, how did that get started and why?
Well, before we get into that, I would just like to, mention the elephant in the room. You turncoats. What is it up to? What is it with you Americans turning your back on the British, huh? You can't get enough of it.
Oh, I knew it was coming eventually. And
Guilty
I'm
as
here
charged.
For it. We deserve it. Just go ahead. Keep it PG, but just unleash on us, Mike. Go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, no. So wait, what's the question again?
What's it like starting a faction? Why did you? Oh, go ahead.
No. The real question is, what is it like to have such a sexy voice?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really notice it because for 31 years of my life, I was surrounded by people that sounded exactly like me, so there was no arousal for that one. But yeah, it seems to be doing all right. It helps me out. Well, for those of us new to your voice, what you're from England, right? I am indeed.
Is it the north? Are you a Geordie from the north?
Have you ever heard of Geordie? No, I'm not. I'm from the southeast, Essex. If you're a big fan of reality TV, if you ever Google "The Only Way is Essex," it's basically our version of Jersey Shore. That's kind of where I'm from.
Wasn't there a show called Geordie Shore?
There was indeed. That was, and you'll trust me, England's very strange in that you can go from one area, drive an hour in one direction, and suddenly everyone sounds completely different. It's so the spread of accents is bizarre.
Well, all I know about it is from my experience with Doctor Who. The Ninth Doctor's lots of planets have a north. You're from the north. Lots of planets have a north.
I'm from the southeast.
That's all I got.
He's an Essexman. He's an Essexman.
Right? If you know where London is, I am about like 30 minutes drive east of London.
Is that Russell Brand?
But you're not there anymore. Now you're closer to the Jersey Shore. So you followed the shows and you just went from the Essex Shore to the Jersey Shore, right?
No, I just followed the New Jersey Devils. It's like, well, I was born in Essex County, England, and they play in Essex County, New Jersey. That's where I'm going, baby.
There you go.
But yes, Russell Brand, good mention. Yes, Russell Brand and I attended the same school. Are
you serious?
We was both raised in Grays, Essex. If you look that up.
Interesting.
And I actually have a picture. I'm not going to show it because it won't show up, but there's I always have to save a picture whenever someone mentions Russell Brand, because that's the only reference from my town. I always go, yep, yeah, this is me and him together.
Incredible.
Yeah. There you go. Well, we can put it on the YouTube version of this. The audio crowd will have to just find us at Champions Chat Podcast on YouTube. You just send it over. I'll put it on screen.
Just imagine Russell Brand standing next to another Russell Brand that has shorter hair.
You're tall like him, I'm assuming, right? You're 6 foot.
If I remember correctly, I think he's like maybe an inch or two taller than me. He's a tall fella.
Yeah. I love the waffle box merch that you're lifting up right there.
No.
That's brand placed right on screen.
I was originally drinking out of just this big Giants glass, but I was like, no, quickly switch to the merch. But before we move on, because you mentioned about Masters of the Universe, what they need to do, I thought, because remember they had that Rocky tie-in a couple of months ago?
Yeah.
Have a merger, have an Ivan Drago character with a He-Man skin, because Dolph Lundgren played He-Man in the Masters of the Universe movie.
That's right. That's right. But
Boom.
Dolph Lundgren and Hulk Hogan famously not a part of that Rocky event when they seem to be like,
Hulk Hogan, we understand why he's not in it, probably.
Right.
Can I just thought
we often asterisk that. Yeah.
Since we're talking Eternia still and Motu, Masters of the Universe, let me just say this. Some people like Lee have for years wondered why did they not make Hulk He-Man? It's a no-brainer to make Hulk He-Man. I've heard that. I've read that question on Discord. I've read it this week as we revisit Motu. I think the only reason they didn't do it is because these characters were inspired by a Mattel toy crossover, and I don't think they wanted to sell He-Man with a skullet or bald. I don't think they wanted to have a bald He-Man, and they didn't think the toy would sell. That's just my theory. Lee, in response to that?
Well, El Nino posted, I think it was El Nino, in the Discord, the Mattel lineup, and Battle Armor He-Man in the Mattel toys is Hulk Hogan. So there's precedent for it in the toys.
Is he wearing a helmet?
But he's got the red, red and yellow kind of chest plate, and if you hit it, it spins around and all that. But I think it's more the asterisks that Captain Jack mentioned there. Oh, sorry, Mike Fish. So we've always known you as Captain Jack in game.
Yeah.
And then Jack Stone, and then Mike Fish. It's like Jack Stone is the best wrestler name I had heard, aside from one. Yeah. Aside from one. When I went to years and years ago, I knew this girl. Her name was Meredith Slaughter before she got married. And we were talking, and she's like, yeah, my dad, Butch, blah, blah, blah. And I went, wait a second, your dad's name is Butch Slaughter? Like, isn't that the best wrestling name ever? Butch Slaughter. So Jack Stone feels right along that line. But then we start watching Waffle Box, and it says Mike Fish. What's up with that?
Well, so Jack Stone has been always like a pseudonym that I've used on games whenever you have to enter your name. From like a very young age, I was like, I'm not putting in my real name. People could be watching me and all that stuff. So I always came up with a fake name. And Jack Stone came from The Shining, all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. And then I was working as, I'll keep this brief, but I was working as like the front door at a casino. And I would have to welcome members, swipe their card, and their name would come up with the age and the photo so we could verify and all that good stuff. And does someone come up, her name was Goldstone, and I just thought that's a really cool, like James Bond type Goldstone. Yeah. And so I flirted with Jack Goldstone for a little while, but it sounded weird. So I just changed it to Jack Stone, and the rest is history. And then when I created the Black Pearl, Captain Jack was just right there. How could I not use it?
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question, Mike, real quick? And we'll get into the faction. Mike, do you remember in the Attitude Era when Mike Tyson was really excited about being the ref at WrestleMania? What was it, like 14? And he, in the press conference, he got so excited that he said, "Cold Stone." You remember that one? Instead of Stone Cold, he called it Cold Stone, the name of the ice cream shop here in the U.S. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I was thinking when you said Goldstone. And we'll get now. I'm gonna mute and we'll get serious.
You're good. You're good. We go places sometimes. That's the way it works. So you mentioned you created the Black Pearl. Rusty and I have no perspective on what it is like to create a faction in this game. Tell me, why'd you create it, and what did that look like?
So when I first joined the game, which is creeping up to 7 years ago now, somewhat, I think I was one of the early ones to hop on because I had a lot of time on my hands after I just moved to America. But yeah, I was just kind of playing about. I joined one faction and it became pretty intense. Long story short, I became like an officer or whatever it was. And then they started talking about mergers and we're going to split everyone up into tiers. And, you know, each month you can qualify to go up a tier or down a tier. And then it became like this whole, like, do I need a spreadsheet? Like, it was so complicated for me, at least then. And I didn't like the fact that, you know, we'd been building up this faction and then suddenly half of the people all of a sudden wouldn't be worthy enough of being in the faction. We'd have to re-qualify to get in the faction. So I didn't like the whole merger idea. So, you know, I'll admit at the time I acted like a child in the chat and just started being a dick. Sorry, pardon my language. But they would invite other people in from the other faction who was merging with, and I would make fun of them until eventually I got kicked out of the faction. It's like, you're not invited anymore. So I just started to create my own faction. I was watching the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I was like, the Black Pearl just sounds fun. We're pirates, we're renegades from this other faction. Luckily, I still had connections from the other faction through Line. I still use Line. Remember that, kids? And so I got some people on board, pun intended, and then we just kind of went from there recruiting. Then it's, you know, the rest is history. But yeah, creating a faction is easy. In fact, you know, it's just a click of the button. But the recruitment is like, gee, that's almost a full-time job.
Yeah. I mean, you've mentioned that. So take a sec, give a shout out to the Black Pearl. This is your recruiting moment. You got 20, 30 seconds, go.
Yeah, the Black Pearl is just a faction where if you want to just play the game and you like playing the game, but you don't want it to become a full-time job, no offense to the factions that have requirements and things like that. That's how you do. That's how you roll. That's all good. But I kind of, when I created the faction, didn't want to have to feel like I had to be on the game at a certain time or had to be hitting this much. I just want to play the game. It's a fun game. I just want to play it. So it's a faction for like-minded people who just want to play the game on a regular basis, but not have to feel like you have to hit certain requirements. So yeah, that's pretty simple as it is. So in that regards, it's pretty easy to run that faction because you just have to keep making sure people are logging in, and that's about it.
Nice. And so you said the hardest part of running the faction is recruitment, is getting people somewhat level of engaged. How do you handle that? Like, how, you know, for those who are listening, maybe they're running a faction, or maybe they just need to hear a faction creator's perspective so that they can empathize with what their faction leader goes through. What does that look like in your schedule, your life?
One, I think the key thing is you have to know what type of faction you want to run. Otherwise, because if you're just creating a faction and you're recruiting and then you're just going through, it can become a mess and take up more time than you want it to. So you have this key idea of like, this is the type of faction I want. And then from there, it's, you know, for me, again, I can't speak on how to run a faction that's in the top 50 or top 10 or top whatever. So I don't know how they do it. But for me, it was just about creating a culture. So getting as many people of the members onto the Lion chat. I know, yes, we're still online. I can hear your voices now, but whatever. But just creating a little mini society, you know, making sure people are active in the chat by talking about anything, not just the game, just about life, about, hey, what movies you've seen, so just create this kind of nice environment where people feel at home. And I think that just naturally breeded the kind of vibe that we've set at the Black Pearl, where people they just want to hang out, they just want to hang around, like yourself. And I'm not going too deep in it, but people leave, it's fine. If you want to venture on and get the big goals, there's no hard feelings. But what I think we've done really well, and what I take as a tip of the hat to our group, is that when people do leave the faction, they still want to stay in the chat because they enjoy part of the community. So, and that's, at the end of the day, that's all we wanted to do: create a little community for people that are playing this game and having fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you listen to the podcast around the time we made the decision to go to a higher ranked faction, I know, I bet you did. It was hard.
Is he going to talk bad about me? Is he going to say something?
And can I just say too, everything Mike just shared, so it was such a good culture, and just to affirm, for years we enjoyed and still enjoy the friendships that we had there. And the best, you didn't mention it, but the best was talking during the live events, the premium live events, and having line just blowing up. Everyone's watching the show together, chatting about the show. That was my favorite stuff. And that's why the Pearl, if I ever get to a place where I want to, I would love to go back at a point.
I mean, you can come back in a chat if you want.
Yeah. I gotta download line again, but sure.
Wow, you deleted the app. That's how much you wanted to get rid of us. Wow.
I don't think I left the chat. I think I just deleted the app. So hopefully, it's still. Anyway, I'm gonna go back.
But that reminds me, we were talking about the PLEs and stuff like that. Well, we haven't done it for a while, but even it got stupid where we were doing movie nights where we'd all agree on a movie to watch, and then we would sit there and live text each other. Oh my God, that happened.
Yeah. No, that was great. So you hit on it, and I don't want to leave it. The culture piece, I would say, you ruined us for other factions. Like, even in the where we went, we were looking for top faction, but we talked about it on one of the other episodes, rewards-based factions versus family first factions. And we were like, we want to get more towards that top end, but we also don't want to leave this atmosphere, this culture. Like, Peter Drucker famously said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? I mean, if you have a good culture, it changes everything in there. And the Black Pearl has an amazing culture. That's part of why people want to stay in there. That's like a blueprint for, hey, this is what a good faction looks like. And if you follow some of the chatter that happens in the game, you can see it in global chat. You often see it in the Discord conversations where X faction, we won't name any, but you all have seen this happen, implodes because egos get in the mix, the culture isn't right, or like what you said, like, oh, we're going to move everyone based on some ranking system. You're going to do this, you're going to do this. People get upset, they go over here. Like, it all comes down to culture, and that is the hardest thing to get right. And I think that's one of the things the Black Pearl does so well. And you being captain of the Pearl, congratulations, that's awesome. Like, that is to be commended, sir. So
well,
yeah,
thank you. But again, it's all down to good recruitment and how you put yourself out there. I remember Miss T, who was one of my first recruit. I recruited her for the previous faction I was with, and the way I recruited her was saying, "Hey, this is what we do, blah blah blah." And also on Fridays we wear wacky socks. Like, it was okay, sure. So it's like that. You set the tone, and you get good people.
That's right. That's right. So what's the most frustrating thing about leading a faction other than recruitment? We've hit that. What's the most frustrating thing?
For me, at least, it's the most frustrating part is when, I think you actually kind of mentioned this or touched on this when you was discussing when you left the faction, is that you do sometimes, you set up this kind of chill environment, but then you see some people, okay, is it getting too chill in that it's losing? Like, where you get some people where there'll be a tour coming up, which is like a 4-day tour, so it's like plenty of time to do it, and there's no requirements on the characters. You just play it and it's points to the faction or whatever, and you just see like 30 people haven't scored anything. You're like, the whole purpose of this is to have fun, but play the game. Like, so it's So you have to toe the line of, look, I don't want to ruin the vibe, but also, hey, can you do something, please? Like you have to prod them, like so.
Right.
Chasing it's awkward in that sense, but other than that, it's very easy. I've got a good, like I say, we've got a good group of people in the faction, good group of the leaders, and it's kind of a self-sufficient kind of animal now. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And then not to change too far from that, but we actually started this podcast to help engagement in the Pearl in the game. And then whenever we made that jump that we've referred to, the recruiting posters initially had home of the Champions Chat podcast, and then you changed it, which
we had to change it because we were no longer the home
of the Waffle Box podcast.
Yes.
So talk to me. You are a podcaster on different topics than the game itself, but yes. What's Waffle Box? How'd that get started?
Waffle Box got started wrestling related ish in that. So me and Kush Hayes, who I do the show with, we met probably like 20 years ago now on an old wrestling forum message board. And we kind of just stayed in touch. And then we just started to podcast together. But then the whole idea was it to be, current affairs, but not the other current affairs. That's kind of how we put it, the other current affairs. So rather than talking about, the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, the miserable stuff, depressing stuff, hey, that stuff needs to be talked about. But hey, maybe some people want an hour or two where let's just get away from the real world for a second. So, I scour the internet week after week looking for top stories in the week, but most of them are like, oh, did you know this did you see this bear in California broke into someone's home and stole all of their beer from the fridge? That's funny. Like, we just talk about all the weird stuff that's happening in the world. And then we review a current movie that's out, and then we do like a birthday quiz. So which celebrity's birthday it is, and then I talk about, like, actually, I just have to see it. So this is kind of the weird stuff that we do. So this past week, it was Tara Reid's birthday this week. Do you remember Tara Reid?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Look at his eyes light up. Yeah,
Josie and the Pussycats and Scrubs, all sorts of things she was in.
Careful, boys.
Yeah, but like, so I quiz Kush on the birthday person, but it's like the knowledge of, like, for example, Tara Reid was born in Bergen County, New Jersey. Which NFL franchise that plays in Bergen County made Tom Brady their B word during their previous 2 Super Bowl victories? Like, that's the type of quiz that we do.
The New York Giants.
Yeah.
All right.
Sports
10
ball.
points.
Yeah, his knowledge isn't that much on sports because his answer was the New England Patriots. And I was like, what? I mean, he played for the Patriots, but why would the New England Patriots play in Jersey? Anyway, let's move on. But yeah, and then we end on a feel-good story of the week. You've muted yourself there, Rusty.
Oh, yeah, I'm on mute.
There we go.
I'm going to stay muted for a little bit.
Oh, so I saw your lips moving. I was like, is he struggling? Is he struggling there a little bit? But yeah, so it's just kind of all over the place. It's, as you know, doing this, we always plan to go an hour, and then before you know it, it's like, oh my God, it's like nearly 2 hours talking. So it's just, if you want a podcast where, something to just put on in the background while you're doing your housework or driving somewhere, it's just 2 fellas talking about the nonsense in the world with a light-hearted twist for an hour.
Is he also British, your co-host?
No, he's from San Francisco, so he's very, very American, West Coast guy. Nice. And with a name like Kush Hayes, you can understand what he gets up to in his free time.
I think that might have been Matt Riddle's original gimmick, Kush Hayes. Right. The original bro.
He's not. He doesn't say bro. Thankfully, Kush Hayes. He's not that guy. But because I think that would get annoying after a while. Like, Matt Riddle's cool, but if I had to hang out with him for 2 hours every week, I think I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, it'd be like on that season of Community where Chang, the Chang character, was using his name in every sentence. Like, let's Chang the conversation. Let's, like, okay, if you say bro one more time, I'm just lose it.
Plus, he seems to have a problem with indecent exposure as well. I think is Matt Riddle's ultimate, right? So not only does
I thought you were talking about the Waffle Box podcast. I don't know.
Matt
I'm
Riddle.
still in the line chat.
Isn't that why he got in
trouble?
Didn't he get in trouble for numerous indecent exposure infractions?
Well, I mean, as I always say, if you've got it, flaunt it. But there are certain, there are lines that don't just do it to anyone.
Right. I've never flaunted it, so I must not have it. I just wouldn't understand.
Wait for the social
we don't want any
cues.
asterisks next to your name in addition to,
Oh, man.
Hall of Famer asterisks. Whoops. So I got to say, yesterday, the Ghostbusters trailer came out. I did not watch anything else until I watched your reaction. So your Waffle Box reaction was my first introduction to the new Ghostbusters trailer. I watched it alongside you.
And it was a terrible reaction video, wasn't it? It was like at midnight, and I was like, I've got something to do. Let's try something new. I've never done a reaction video before, and that's why, I guess.
That's why. Well, now you're gonna have people watching it just to see, just to put comments and drive engagement on the Waffle Box podcast right there. So
at Waffle Box Pod on YouTube, or
there you
go to enjoywafflebox.com if you want to listen to this Spotify or Apple Podcasts version.
Yeah, and you Twitch streamed this game too, right?
I tried to
WWE Champions game.
Yeah, so at only Mike Fish on Twitch. I do it very sporadically, so don't follow me by all means, but don't expect regular streams. But I don't know whether it was a me issue or a game issue, but the portal was laggy as hell yesterday, and so I tried streaming. I managed like 45 minutes, and it was like after each game you have to wait like 3 minutes to get to the next one. It's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. This is
there has been something going on with the latest update. I feel like the web browser version of the game is still catching up to the mobile version as far as trustworthy.
What made me laugh is that sorry to jump in there, but when you're playing on the portal, in the corner it says this plays best on Chrome or Firefox. I was on Chrome, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll switch to Firefox. That'll be better. I pulled up Firefox, logged into the portal, loaded the game, and all of the buttons just had like special characters. 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, okay, no, this is all a foreign language now. Okay, brilliant. I have no idea what's going on. Let's go back to Chrome, I guess.
That was the Eternia alphabet that it had converted into.
That's right. Well, speaking of, unless, Mike, if you've got other things you want to say about faction creation, running a faction, we could start talking about this MLC because a lot of stuff has changed.
Turn up the heat.
Turn up the heat.
This MLC is called Turn Up the Heat. And it is, I'll do a quick overview. It is focused on Thanksgiving turkeys and rounding them up in scavenger hunt faction. But not only is it focused on turning up the heat, its focus is essentially on pitting face versus heel, and also somehow pitting class category like striker versus trickster, and giving specific class advantages. Moreover, we're seeing mutants in the game this week, and Masters of the Universe He-Man characters, which of course we've given a lot of airtime to already. But the real focus of the MLC is on Attitude Era, as well as, is it Ruthless Aggression that they're also featuring?
Nugent.
So that's a lot, guys. I mean, it
is
30,000 foot overview. Basically, we're doing everything we can this month to catch up on the things that we've not done this year. And I'll go to mute and we'll talk about this MLC.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when when Davey, I think a professor alongside him did the blog reveal, but certainly Davey reading it, everybody was losing their freaking minds because of, oh my gosh, this is changing, that's changing, this is changing. And as happens, we've talked about this on the podcast before, negativity bias sets in. This is going to be the worst thing ever. And then that causes people to go, well, this is going to be the best thing ever. In reality, I don't see it being that monumentally different. A lot of subtle changes, but the subtleties is where you start to have to pay attention a lot more, because like you said, this feud perks have changed, talent up changed to be around the feud. And if you take a trickster in that has purple moves, purple gems, you're going to lose. If you take a striker in, or someone who's using black moves like DX Triple H is going to be huge this feud, they're getting buffed. So it's like what they started experimenting with on the showdown changes are being applied to feud. But what I like the most about it is with the talent up moving to feud specific. And if you saw our video on my talent up and stuff, like I was initially thinking, oh, there's no talent, like I've saved all these moves, talent up is gone. And then in reality, it was functionally the same. It just does something a little different. It just goes towards feud as opposed to just the overarching MLC and then it's done. So,
can I ask you a question as just the naive voice of the community?
Yeah.
When are we supposed to buy feud perks? And how do I know if I actually have currency for the feud perks, the turnbuckles? I'm confused. Like I did talent up, I maxed talent up, I got the moments, I actually got 4 new moments, incredible. But I have no clue how the perks interface with the talent up and when I'm supposed to cash in those turnbuckles and see what I actually have. So I've done nothing. Help me, Lee.
So the perks system changed a lot with that. So now the talent up is going to give you the turnbuckles that go towards feud, and there's going to be a talent up the week before every feud. So at least twice a month now. So they've at least doubled the amount of talent up, although they've reduced the initial, instead of 800, it's 500 now, but then there's going to be 2. So it's, however that works. But you get your turnbuckles by doing the feud talent up, and then you use them for this weekend's feud. So if you're listening to this day of release, today, tomorrow, you've got that time to go ahead and do your feud perks. Still takes the universal turnbuckles, but it does also require these new feud perks, and you equip them, but then they're going to go away after the feud. Whereas before it was a month-long feud perk and you just did one time. It worked for regular feud, it worked for flash feud, you're good. This time, every feud, there's going to be a talent up, which will allow you to earn turnbuckles, which you then use on your feud perks that are specific to that exact feud.
Do they roll over? Like if they're unused, do they roll over to the next feud?
Nope, they're very specifically to that feud.
Let me just say, I went ahead and I clicked feud perks as you were talking. And what I'm first noticing is this is turn up the heat faction feud perks level 1. There's no longer a differential between offensive and defensive feud perks. And so you used to have to choose, right? I'd have to choose, I want to push all my offensive perks up first, and then whatever I have left, dump into defensive. Now there's just one category to click.
Yep. It's just one thing, but it's going to be each feud. So that makes your talent up even more important. It's not just, oh, I might get a strap, I might get this. It's now like, if you want a feud, you got to do some talent up. So let's park there for just a moment. Tell me, Mike, then Rusty, tell me how your talent up experience went as we started this MLC.
I really liked the changes to the talent up personally. But it was a bit at first confusing reading the notes of like, oh, hey, by the way, so normally we have a talent up in week 1, but we're scrapping that. There's no talent up in week 1. However, so we're just doing talent ups before feud, but there's a feud week 1. So we're introducing a new talent up in week 1. So there will be a talent up in week 1. It was very like confusing for a second, but no, I like the changes they've made. I think it changed it for the better. the rewards are, like you say, a little bit different than they used to be. But I love the fact that they've now introduced, kind of merged the TP contest into the talent up, and there's unlimited spending of coins to get there, because I can understand why they limited that, because they just didn't want someone with a bunch of coins stashed just maxing it with spending coins. But at the end of the day, to talent up, you need to spend coins, so they should count in some. So I really like that. I personally went up until the last one. I didn't really care to spend 200 extra million coins because I'm not rich like you boys. But next, the other 200 million. Look at me! I'm spending 1 billion coins just for fun. So, and
hey,
I didn't.
I
the
did that
rewards
for the content.
That was pretty
not
outrageously,
but that was. I knew going into that, and actually, I had that plan before they made the announcement. I'm like, I'm going to spend 1 billion coins just to get the content going. And then they announced it. I was like, they've ruined my plans. The video that would end all video, and then it was fine. It was fine. But yeah, I did. I spent 1 billion coins. I'm Ted DiBiase Jr. No. That's another bad one. No, let's move on. All right, back to you, Mike.
Yeah, I think you're Ted DiBiase Senior. Let's leave it at that. The $1 million man.
This episode is brought to you by the symbol for the asterisk. All right.
Oh
back
my
to you,
gosh.
Yeah. That kind of what are we talking about?
I'll share.
Talking about talent up.
But no, yeah.
Weird people dropping 1 billion coins. But you didn't want to drop your 200 million because that was too.
No, and personally, the rewards, like, because I know the last milestone was the what are they called, the
moments
bag.
The moments. I don't care about the moments, because half the time I haven't got, you need like 6 of the 8 characters to make it, and I only have like 3, so I don't really care about the moments. So that's just me. So I didn't really go for the moments. But no, yeah, overall I thought the talent up was a lot of fun, a lot different, and I look forward to the next one.
Nice. Rusty, what do you think?
I have very few moments. So I went for it this month when I haven't in the past. I thought the 500 million was a lot more attainable than the previous months. It was 800 million. And I balked at the number previously, right? So I was like, I'm not even going to attempt to try to go for the moments. Well, I have so few that I actually got 4 new moments, and probably the best moment that I could have gotten, I got. So arguably my best superstar is Relentless Kevin Owens, and this has been the dominoes have been falling in my favor with the sheriff's badge plate, and as well as the moment that I got, the Cody Rhodes American Nightmare moment that in Feud makes Kevin Owens produce even more trap gems, even more damage. So things are going really well. What I don't like about this particular talent up is, okay, so I maxed it, and now I've got Feud coming up this weekend, but now there's a Motu event that started, and like there's no unique coin or TP events. So like, what do I do this week? Do I level up the Evil Skull King Triple H, or do I wait, or do I not? Am I wasting resources because I don't have a daily event that's going to benefit me with solo points? I feel, is the word disincentivized to make moves this week. I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to do, because I would not have had prior knowledge during the talent up to know to bring up those characters for these events. So either I have to be wasteful, or I have to be keenly aware of the entire month calendar. So I'm just a little confused as to like the day-to-day management. I like the format of the talent up, but I miss the daily events now because I'm not sure what to do and how to spend.
So here's one of the big changes that I'm looking at it right now, which, by the way, if you see my video, I was ranked #1 in the community for a hot minute. I'm now ranked 28. So me dropping 1 billion coins only has me at 28. The person in first, which is now Quenito from KSMA Slayers, 4.2 billion points on the Talent Up, but it goes for another 2 days. So Scopely, here's a hack the game kind of moment right here. Zach alluded to it on our community spotlight, our first one, but Scopely rewards those who wait. And like me, I obviously went in and blew the Talent Up in one immediate shot. But if we, the three of us and any in the community like us, had taken the pace and just waited, do a little bit day one, get some rewards, feel good about yourself, and then see what's going to be the midweek events. And then you start, which they were already kind of doing that, because notice one thing from this MLC that hadn't got talked about, but there's no Hall of Gold yet. That's usually week one. That's usually the first event. No Hall of Gold. So normally you do Talent Up and then you have Hall of Gold and you're like, oh man, now I wish I would have worked my Hall of Fame characters. So it rewards those who play strategic and wait. And so the new plan is still the old plan. It's just not one that I follow in terms of, you wait and you do a little bit day one. And then you've got now, instead of 2 or 3 days for Talent Up, you've actually got the entirety of the week. So if the MLC starts on Monday, it'll be Monday to Friday. This one was Tuesday to Friday. So you do the key moves that you want to do. And then if you need to resource manage and make sure that you're okay with that, then you go ahead and do some additional moves when you find out what that featured character is going to be. They also are rewarding the long-term play by announcing what CSS are going to be coming up for at least the main tour each week. And so like this month, there's APA Bradshaw, who was week one. We've got his 3-minute move set up on the YouTube. And by the way, we introduced a playlist that is 3-minute move sets for this MLC. So I'll just keep updating that to whatever characters are this current month, so you can always find it quick. But then you've got Trish Stratus, Stratisfaction. You've got your Shawn Michaels, the Showstopper, and you've got Roman Reigns Powerhouse, which I have not made the 3-minute move set for because mine is unleveled 4-star bronze. I haven't touched him since the start of the game.
I'll make that one, but the commonality here, they're terrible. They're all terrible. The CSS characters this month are all terrible,
except because they only typically go up to like 5-star silver, 5-star gold on their tours. One node will be 6-star. With the flat gym trainers, flat gym coaches, you can pretty well beat any of their tours. Like Trish and Motu Goldberg and JBL all have create a certain color move or spam a certain color move. So you just put in all of those trainers and you're good. But the point is that they're rewarding you for thinking ahead and making these planning moves to say, okay, Talent Up week one, I need to bring JBL up. I need to also do my big moves that I'm excited about. And to be quite honest, I no inside information. I don't know Scopely's inner workings, but FOMO is how this game is built out. This is why we spend. This is why so if you spend everything on Talent Up right away, and then there's this awesome Masters of the Universe Mutant event, now you want to spend more resources, and now you want to buy more, and now you want to, so you either play smarter or you spend. Those are kind of the ways. So like I knew up front that I was going to have enough resources that if I spent on the Talent Up, although I'm desperately out of tokens and black TP again, that I would have enough to keep going into that next Talent Up. But the biggest thing is now that there's 2 Talent Ups every MLC at least, you have to manage to where you're not just using up all of your moves the first week of the month. You have to think about, what do I want to take now? What do I want to take week 3? And what about those midweek events in the middle? So it's all strategy. It's just find the system, work the system.
If I had the ability to do all of that, I would probably own my own business and not play a wrestling video game most days.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think they're taking advantage of people that don't have the abilities to think long term and run a budget and see big picture and move slowly and have wisdom. Then there's just dummies like me mashing away at these gyms, derping around.
Wow.
This game because I can't do any of those things. Don't they know this?
That's why. Okay, so pop culture reference. Mike, you can hop in on this one in a sec too. But think about the worst X-Men movie. Not that one. X-Men: The Last Stand. Right, and Magneto's forces are going out to fight, and then he sends out all these like pawns, initial troops, and then they all get wiped out. And what does Ian McKellen say? That's why I can't say it, Mike. Say that's why the pawns go first in your sweet British accent, and we got Ian McKellen here.
We used. This is why the pawns go first.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the pawns go first, and then the strategic players step back. So
are they multiplying?
Goosebumps. I'm losing control. It's electrifying.
You got to step up.
You two are having a moment.
I need a man.
I need a hero.
Well, this is from Greece. For those of you uncultured people, we were going through a scene in Greece together.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I've never seen it.
I was playing the part of Olivia Newton-John, and Mike was playing the part of John Travolta, and it was the most romantic thing that's happened in my life in years. So,
and just to disclaimer, that was pre-creepy fathead bald John Travolta. It was when John Travolta was like, "Oh, he's normal."
He was cool. I mean, he was a cool guy. And hanging with what was it called? Welcome Back,
Mr. Kata.
Mr. Kata, Vinny Barbarino. I mean, he's the coolest guy around. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Just
so, Mike,
if you're gonna watch Grease, if you're gonna watch Grease, just when they start singing the "Tell Me More" song, just fast forward that, because that song didn't age well. I'll just leave it.
That's true. Well, pretty much the whole premise of Grease is. I mean, the concept of consent, we've learned a lot since then. We've learned a lot. So.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Right. Let's move on. So, Mike, thoughts on the MLC changes, what we talked about so far?
It's, and I think just going to piggyback off what you're saying, it's just very much, but I think the problem is now they seem to start everything on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. And there's nothing to do on a Monday, pretty much. You are kind of like, once Tuesday comes and everything starts, you're like, why would I do everything? And then all of a sudden, Wednesday comes and there's 2 new tours, and on Thursday we're introducing this, and suddenly, I opened my phone today and went into the tours or whatever it's called section contests, and it's like there's so much to do. So I think. Patience is the name of the game, but whatever. I'm just kind of a guy that's logs in plays, so it's exciting that there's a lot of different things going on. There's the Kickoff tour, there's the MLC tours, there's the Motu tours, then the Feud. So it's going to be fun, and I do somewhat like the change to the perks, because it does reset everyone a little bit after. So it does make it a little bit, because sometimes when you get to the end of the month, if you haven't leveled up a certain perk, then showdown's like just miserable because you're just going into a slaughtering field. So if everyone kind of resets again, I think it could be fun. A lot of interesting moves they're making.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely leaning into, we talked about it as color theory before, they're leaning into this idea that in every mode now, they're trying to get us away from just going, okay, Rusty's got a soon-to-be 6-star silver powerhouse KO who can just do everything and anything. So he's just going to use him every single bit of the day. And then you get this other character and you're like, oh, I'm not even going to build them because I'm building this guy. Or I'm not going to worry about the Ruthless Aggression era because they're not doing anything there. I'm not going to worry about my women's roster because, they statistically use the women half to a quarter amount of the time as they use the guys in the game. It forces you to make some choices. So now if your top guys, like the top guy on my roster, the top two of my males on my roster are Trickster Zombie Steamboat and Trickster Johnny Knoxville, who, by the way, gets to keep his dodge. So come at me.
Allegedly,
allegedly, he keeps his dodge. Wait, no, it's official. But anyway,
no, there was
so
something on the blog that said we're not quite sure how to reconcile if we remove dodge from the game and then Can't See Me Cena and Johnny Knoxville get to retain dodge in their moveset. So for now, allegedly, right? For now, we're going to allow them to keep these moves while we continue to strategize what we're going to do moving forward long term.
By the way, somebody in our faction Discord actually solved it. So Scopely, if you're listening, here's the answer. You don't dodge the move, you dodge a percentage of the damage. So like a gem swipe for acros, maybe it's instead of dodging the entire thing, they can dodge up to 20% of that damage. Or the tricksters with the moves, you don't dodge the entire move. Maybe you dodge like one aspect of it. Like maybe it still hits, but it doesn't lay trap gems. Maybe it still hits, but it does less damage. Maybe so there's still like it doesn't leave you completely ineffective, because I am not on the Merrick's train where he wants to throw his phone every time dodge goes off.
I'm fully on board with Merrick's there.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that?
It always happens at you're in like this tough battle and okay, if I win this, I'm going to get the bonus points and this is going to be great. And then you realize, oh my God, once I hit this move, it's over. And it's always at that moment where you hit it and it dodges at you.
Yeah. I'd like to see dodge used to the player advantage, like maybe a Jimmy Hart, a Hart, or what do they call it? The Chongo curse, the props. Dodge could be a prop. That would be terrific if you
dodge the next move or something like that.
Yes, that would be so nice.
Or like you build up a dodge meter and then you can choose when you use it. And then you could also see when the opponent is building up their dodge meter. So maybe if their dodge meter is full, okay, I don't want to use my big move because it might screw up. And, so there's at least some way to strategize around it.
Or if you want to strategize, how about this one, Scopely? Or I'll run it past you two. So like you say, the dodge meter is there, but to build up your dodge meter, you have to match certain color gems, but it's not one of your three main. So it's like, do I focus on my dodge, but then I'm sacrificing not filling up my moves? It could be that could be
like a loot box.
Oh, I like that too.
Loot box could contain dodge meter points, because there's no other inherent value. It'd be really interesting though if just back to the concept, if dodge was a prop and you could bring that into boss battle, and you could use it on a much.
I don't think they're doing that.
Now we're dreaming. Now we're getting somewhere. If you could bring in a dodge prop right when the boss is ready to smack you, boom.
Right.
Oh man. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna mute for a moment and enjoy this.
Well, now we're brainstorming. I think should we just use the loot box thing as the dodge meter? Because do we need loot boxes at this point? Because like you'll beat like a 6-star bronze node on the tour and you'll get the loot boxes. Oh, here's 200 coins. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and if you're King of Kings and I've got this pass, I'm gonna get 3 loot boxes regardless. There's no incentive to actually swipe it in game, right? You're not gonna go for it's not tempting to hit the loot box.
Aside from Kickoff and when there's random things like Kickoff, like right now, spamming the normal boss mode with Godfather to make the whole board into loot boxes, it gives you that 50 to 70 keys, which helps your faction, blah blah blah. But other than that, loot boxes they're the botch gem on the board. Like they're I don't want to have to hit this, and you hope that the opponent hits them. And there's some strategy to loot boxes, but when was the last time, other than using Godfather in that way, that a
3-star
loot box
meta
based character was important?
Well, 3-star meta, it was critical to get resource. So like as I watch Mirix and these free-to-play projects that are coming online now, it's still really a big part of the strategy. you're like desperate for 2 purple TP, to collect it incrementally.
That's true. I mean, historically, black TP has always been my downfall, and I don't know why. And now, as of this Talent Up, I had 5 black TP after Talent Up. I have like 40,000 purple. I have 5 black. So yeah, same. Like I'm going back to the chats and looking through the Black Pearls line conversation of like where was that spam node? Where do I farm for black TP again? Because yeah, I'm not free to play in that I'm not restarting a new account, but every once in a while, you're right. You just got to have them.
Yeah. And just one tip for those of you listening, if you don't regularly do it, it's a great practice to hit that showdown shop every day and check and see what's available there. There's typically 3 colors of TP being offered for 200. You get 200 TP for however 1,000 showdown coins or whatever it is. But that's something that's worth checking every single day, especially if your resources are slim.
That's right. So before we go into WWE TV, last question I've got for us. What do you think about this new MLC having double Trickster? Trickster free, Trickster chase. What do you think about that? And what do you think about the headbangers? Mike, you got shifty eyes going right there. You got something working. So go ahead.
I don't care. I just look at these as kind of like the characters that I have to. I almost don't look at the skins anymore. The characters, it's just how do they play? Are they any good or not? At this point, I think at least when it comes with male characters, there's so many out there that realistically, it's not like people are clamoring for, oh my god, there's a trickster. This surely we need a new acrobat or we need a new. There's so many out there. So the fact that they're both tricksters doesn't really bother me that much. The where mind blank.
Headbangers.
Yeah, headbangers is it's an odd choice. Like I guess, hey, it's a new character. It's not another Undertaker. It's not another Steve Austin. It's not another Roman Reigns. So yeah, I'll take it. But it just seems, hey, everyone was celebrating Thanksgiving, and what does everyone think of when they think of Thanksgiving? Yes, Marsh and Thrasher, that famous tag team from the late 90s. Like what? Okay,
right. Headbangers, heavy metal, and to be honest, like there's almost this like Winnie the Pooh, blood and honey aesthetic going on with some of the things. Like we're going into Thanksgiving and we're getting bloody masks as it's like horror Thanksgiving.
Super weird.
And I'm a fan of heavy metal. I mean, I got a whole shelf right here of Demon Hunter. Like I'm a fan of heavy metal music, but it's an odd timing choice too. And I got to say, the animation Mosh is the free one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, the animation of him on the screen where he's just like flailing all about. I don't know why. Like I haven't been more unsettled aside from the original Akira Tozawa. Like Akira Tozawa does that bark looking thing. I don't know why it drives me nuts. And this one is the same. Like I legitimately was struggling week 1. Every time he came on, I was like, get away from the main screen. Like he's just flailing everywhere. I don't like it.
To revisit the Attitude Era 2 months after we had the Nation of Domination tour with a trickster is really weird. I mean, just for variety's sake, this could have been a Motu month. This could have been a Mutant month. This
I love that.
A PG Era month.
Women's legends, the entire month.
And then to say to have a tag team and then they're both the same category. Like there's so many Attitude Era favorites that are not in game. Now we don't know what the weekend characters are going to be. I mean, we could get it. We could get.
We'll find out tonight.
A bevy of incredible attitude. I think Al Snow is one that people have been calling for a long time. Blue Meanie.
What does everybody want?
The Job Squad.
Sean Stasiak.
Yeah, there's.
Oh yeah, Planet Stasiak.
Yeah, there's there's some real staples of that era that are underrepresented, including the female class.
Oh yeah.
Sable, Rena,
Jazz.
Lesnar. Where is she at? Where is Sable, who is arguably the most popular woman of the Attitude Era and a women's champ? Not in game. And it's Brock Lesnar's wife. Not in game. Super weird to me. So I'm a sort of like Mike, to where I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily care about the class being redundant as much as I care about, like, that's an odd choice from an underrepresented era that is arguably the most popular era of all of wrestling, and we're still saying it's one of the lesser categories in the game, and it's one of the underpowered categories in the game. So
could have been worse. Instead of Mosh, we could have got Beaver Cleavage. Do you remember him?
That gimmick also didn't age well.
Like, you could have Beaver Cleavage as the free one, and then his mum was the chase character.
Someone wrote that. Someone wrote that
really
in the comments of the Davey D blog reveal. They're like, "How have we gone this long on this blog and not mentioned Beaver? Like, how is it possible that his name has not come up yet?" And so, the Attitude Era, for all of its skeletons in the closet, certainly was a memorable
Katie
era.
Vick's in the coffin.
I mean, just so many terrible. There was one angle about Triple H and some sort of necrophilia with
Katie
Kings.
Vick.
Oh, okay,
Well,
that was the same thing. I was
that was
just
ruthless aggression.
terrible.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
aggression.
Terrible. I think
It
I grouped
was.
everything. I think I group everything like pre-Cena. Maybe that was Cena involved in that too, but it's like, I think if Cena, it's like all Attitude to me. So
I think Cena had just debuted on SmackDown when Triple H was playing with Katie Vick. If I remember my timelines. And then he also had Heidenreich reading poems to Michael Cole.
Well, this is the perfect time to segue into my favorite segment on the show, where Lee's got one more thing before we hit it.
One more quick thing.
Sorry,
but this is important to this MLC. The one thing they did with Mosh that everybody in the community was talking about for a while is, if you are a new player who didn't originally, within the last 5 years of the game really get started out, there is no path to get Sin Cara. And Sin Cara is one of the most important trainers for multiply gyms. Mosh replaces Sin Cara and then some. So now one of the big, like, if you're starting this game and you're not going to get Akam, you're not going to get Sin Cara, you're not going to get this person. They never reskinned him. They never made him available again. Therefore, it was like, your multiply gym guys are lesser if you're a newer player. This removes one more barrier for newer players, because now this free guy is Sin Cara and better. So
does Thrasher have a Matt Hardy ability?
No, his sucks. I don't even remember what it is, if you want to pull it up. But
wouldn't that have been cool if they gave Thrasher the Matt Hardy also multiply gym increase ability, and then people would have probably played pretty hard, because Matt Hardy is a free to play character's dream of getting that guy if you're newer to the game.
Yep.
Well, let's transition.
Go ahead, Mike. No, go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm sorry. I keep
trying, Rusty. I'm sorry.
We'll get there eventually. Well, I'm just trying to think of ideas to help out Scopely, right? So if you're thinking about Thanksgiving, I've only got a couple of ideas yet. I've got a year to think about it next.
Let's hear it.
But if you want to theme it to be Thanksgiving,
right,
then this is where we could, like, what you think about Thanksgiving meal, right? So you could have Sean Stasiak meat. So that's your meat.
Right.
And then you could have a new Drew mac and cheese. McIntyre.
With a yellow noodle beard.
Yeah, we could have fun with that. We'll brainstorm that. We've got a year.
Glaring omission was to not make the gobbledygooker a CSS character that everyone got for free. I think
he will be. I don't know if we're going to get him for free, but there has been some confirmation he will be on Thanksgiving week. There will be a gobbledygooker appearance, possibly new gear. Although he's already got like 3 gears, and I still don't even have the character in the first place.
Yeah, I don't have it.
You know,
I don't have it.
yeah.
I don't have it.
How does he have 3 different costumes? Didn't he only like
Well, they did like
really
a
make
Hall
one
of Fame
appearance?
one.
Is he an egg
Right.
in one appearance?
No. He's one of them is like he's Hall of Fame. He's gold. One of them is like he's smoking, like he's in the oven. And then I don't even remember the other one. It was the original
morbid.
gear.
That's inappropriate. That's morbid.
Yeah.
It fits this massacre Halloween theme that we're doing. Turn up the heat.
On that note, let's turn our attention.
Oh, just one more thing. No, I'm just kidding.
WWE
back on SmackDown.
WWE TV. This is one of my favorite segments we do on the show, and we actually splice this off separate for fans that just watch wrestling and don't play champions. What is your favorite thing happening on WWE TV?
See, I don't know if it's like anything that's going on right now, particularly, but overall, I'm a big fan. Why did I just pronounce it TH? I'm biggest fan of Imperium. I still wish they could. I'm loving Gunther. I'm fan fiction. I think him because I'll get into what annoys me in a minute, but you have the bloodline, every Roman Reigns match, there's run-ins. Who would be the perfect foe for them? Imagine Roman Reigns versus Gunther with Imperium, and that'd be fun. I love that. Not a big fan of the bloodline thing right now. It's kind of dragging out. So that's about it really. There's not much really going on that I'm excited about. I guess the Io Sky Kairi Sane reunion is pretty exciting. I'm excited to see where that goes because I like the fact that Bayley didn't look like she was expecting that. So finally, because I know we're talking about what's our favorite things right now, and I'm always being negative, but I thought the damage control thing was going on a bit too long, and Io Sky has been a champion for so long, but she's always playing second fiddle, and that dragged out too long. So I'm glad that this is happening. A little bit of a shake up. Anyone else can go next.
Yeah, I think building off of yours there, it would be really cool if Io left damage control, her and Kairi start something, and she reclaimed Io Shirai, and then like when she's in this version of herself, she's Io Shirai, and then when they need to go back to Io Sky, then she, that could be like her like signifying whether she's fan favorite or whether she's the villain, or who knows. But I think Crown Jewel, that was one of those moments. I felt like Crown Jewel kind of was a glorified house show again, with like 2 maybe 3 big exceptions.
How dare you?
How dare I?
Our Saudi audience is furious that you said that.
Well, dang it, I'm sorry about that. But what happened? I mean, really, like, Drew McIntyre lost. I mean, again, I'm on the anti-Seth train at this point. Like, he's a great wrestler. I'm just so bored with him. I am more invested in Roman as champion for another 3 years than I am Seth as champion for another 3 minutes. Like, ouch. I just, like, knowing Drew wasn't going to walk away with the victory, like, didn't like it. The tag team match was fine for me. Again, out of all the things that are happening, not just in Crown Jewel, but in the overall product, I continue to be amazed by, one, how much I want to dislike Logan Paul, and 2, how much he keeps showing that he is like one of the best in the ring. And this time,
and on the mic,
saved Rey Mysterio's career. Legitimately saved his career.
That spot, like, okay, as a fan of wrestling, I cannot say anything bad about Logan Paul. As a fan of wrestling, I can say I don't like Logan Paul. His YouTube, I've never watched it. I don't know. He's better at being Austin Theory than Austin Theory is. He's better at taking selfies, and he's better at the viral social media than Grayson Waller is. He is the personification of who all these young guys are trying to be. He actually is that thing. To put the belt on him is brilliant for cross-brand promotion. He's going to wear that Joker online for millions of non-wrestling fan viewers and attract an audience. There's a generation out there that did not grow up watching wrestling that will now be exposed to wrestling. He's good for business. And that's Triple H has always been about. Logan Paul is good for the business. And he did, you're right. He saved Rey Mysterio from a potentially serious botch falling on his head or neck.
Yeah.
So, and Harry didn't blow his quads or his quad because he landed awkwardly as well while he was catching Rey. He was like, so to catch him and then to stand up like that, it was like, woo.
You can't teach those instincts, I don't think, at the development center. Either you are a good person that cares about the health of the person you're in the ring with, or you don't. And I just think we saw what happened with Rey missing that spot and getting a concussion and having to step out of the ring for a month, right? When he went outside the ring, hit his head on the basically cement floor, because he didn't get caught by his LWO teammates. And so, all that to say, it might be time for Rey to evaluate some of these risky moves. I love Rey, but gosh, don't put yourself in danger if you can't. Something's off.
What was a simple move? I mean, he might have slipped on the ropes, or it was a simple enough move for what he. I mean, compared to like if you saw Brock Lesnar get up there, of course, Brock famously did the shooting star press and all that. But if you saw someone of that, like Braun Strowman, you saw Braun Strowman try that move, and everybody's going, "Oh dear Lord, what's about to happen?" Rey, you're like, he could pull that off in his sleep, literally, and it's one of those freak things. But the fact that Logan Paul was right there, like changed the plan, and boom, got him. That was impressive.
And my thought is, but can he anymore pull those off in his sleep? He's older than we are. I mean, he's been at the top. He's been at the top for over 2 decades, and taken 3 decades. He's taken hit after hit, been on the road, doing house shows, doing these maneuvers. It takes its toll on the body. Let me change gears because I love Rey and I just want him to stay healthy. My favorite thing about WWE TV right now, can I share it? I've got 2 wild things that are not, these are deep tracks. Number 1 is the Alpha Academy pushing Tozawa to, I don't know what it is, these feats of strength now that he's attempting, and he's showing up on NXT. He's challenged, like there is a career revitalization for Tozawa, which has been really, really fun to watch. WWE's always had these comedy acts, but Alpha Academy is able to be believable that they actually have skill and be the comedy act. And they're wildly entertaining. And I hope, here's just a long shot prediction. I would love to see the Alpha Academy adopt Chase U and to somehow take over and incorporate Chase University into the Alpha Academy, to where suddenly they have a roster of like 10 deep that are being trained by Chad Gable to be these up and comers. I think that would be exciting. Second thing, and this is just weird, is there's something very captivating about this Nikki Cross stare ahead where she is not moving, not speaking, like she's in a trance. So they can go a lot of places with this. I hope where they're going with it is she's the first to be recruited via trance by whatever the rumor of the Wyatt family resurgence maybe Bray, I doubt they would ever use that on the air, is speaking to her in some sort of spirit realm, right? And calling her in to come with and that's probably too out there. And I even reading your face is like, yeah, that'll probably never happen. But they're saying they're going to bring back the Wyatt family. They're saying they're going to do the Uncle Howdy lines. They're saying they're going to do some sort of Wyatt 7 without Bray. Nikki Cross is perfect for that.
I mean, I could see that, but I don't think they'll be doing the whole Bray Wyatt is speaking to her from beyond the grave. I think that would be a bit weird. But I could definitely get behind, like, there's one time where she's maybe standing backstage just staring, and then out of the shadows you just see Uncle Howdy, and then it cuts away. That would be pretty exciting. I would be down for him coming back, because I think Bo, I mean, when he's ready, I think it'd be cool for him to come back into the fold.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the obvious direction with this is it's probably sanity. I mean, that was one of Triple H's babies anyway. Whenever Vince McMahon came back into power, Eric Young famously left again.
Deuces.
See, I'm not here for Vince McMahon. And so who knows? Maybe he got him back. Maybe he got Killian Dane back. Maybe it's going that way. But people like me who are expecting that, if you did have that moment, like, I often commend Rusty for his booking. Mike, I'm commending you for your booking. I want to watch that. I want to watch Nikki Cross standing there and Uncle Howdy comes up behind and then boom, it cuts out. Like, that would be riveting television. And what I like most about this, we talked about the Attitude Era when we were talking about the game portion of the show. This is the type thing they did in the Attitude Era. Akira Tozawa, being like where you would see these B characters over here who are doing these things that aren't going to change. It's not going to be the world title changing picture. It's not going to change. It was just fun. It was just fun. And Alpha Academy is just fun, right? This thing with Nikki Cross, it's fun. You're intrigued. You want to know what's going to happen next. I like it. I like it.
You mentioned that the Attitude Era, things happen fun, even though they're only like a small player in the big scheme of things. One of my favorite things growing up watching was Crash Holly, when he was the super heavyweight and he would come to the ring carrying the scales, and he would like weigh himself and he'd be like 520 pounds, and he's like tiny, like slightly bigger than Spike Dudley. He was great.
Yes, I love that. All right, so to close it out, I want to ask the WWE TV question that we haven't gotten to because we don't really talk AEW that much. Survivor Series War Games is coming up. It's in Chicago. Is Chick Magnet Phil coming back to WWE? Is CM Punk the hidden reveal?
Yeah, I was about to say, can you clarify the Chick Magnet? Because I don't know that everyone would know him by that name. Yeah, it's in Chicago.
It's in Chicago. They've sold out the arena and opened up more seats because there's a rumor that CM Punk might be back. Would Triple H do that subversive of a move? I mean, this would be, Vince famously would work with anyone. Ultimate Warrior burned the bridge down and then peed on it, and Vince brought him back as the featured character. Would TKO Holdings see enough value in bringing back CM Punk that they would risk the backstage environment that allegedly would create?
Bring it back as what? I mean, I don't know. Let's hear
CM Punk.
I mean, like as in ring.
Yeah.
I mean,
he proved he could go in AEW. He was world champion before he burned the whole entire world down.
I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, I don't want to say anything bad about him, but a lot of his things was he kept getting injured. That was so that was kind of what derailed him a little bit as well. He kept stop, start with his injuries. But I think in a weird way, I think the fact that the TKO merger has happened, I think makes it somewhat more likely that he will come in. Just because I think he knows at the very least. I mean, obviously Vince and all that still have a lot of saying power, but it's not Vince's company, quote unquote, anymore. And also now I can see with, not to get too into the nitty gritty business side of things, but we're still talking about TV rights, because I know SmackDown is moving to USA, NXT is going to the CW. I don't think they've announced Raw rights yet. So
they haven't.
Still
they're
the
creating that as their flagship show again, and they're trying to shop it to somebody big, a Disney and Amazon, somebody.
So I wouldn't be shocked if they were thinking, hey, if he's willing to play ball, let's bring in CM Punk, get the numbers up, get a bit of press, get a bit of attention on us, and hopefully that will jack up the price. So I'm not saying yes or no either way, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he came in.
It wouldn't shock me either at this point. I think, Triple H, obviously different than Vince McMahon, but obviously he was raised in so many ways. I mean, in his career from being Terra Rising on up, he was raised by Vince McMahon in that sense, and then became part of the family. Although behind the scenes, Wrestle Talk, What Culture was actually talking about it yesterday. TKO in their SEC filing on this actually has started to distance themselves from Vince McMahon. They absolutely listed him as a liability on the company's ledger because of his past and stuff. So the thought is that maybe Ari Emanuel, TKO brought in Vince because they knew they needed it. They used him to get this UFC deal with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because Dana White's absolutely said Vince McMahon made that deal happen. He's the reason that we're getting this big exposure. And then they're kind of slowly pushing Vince off to the side because they're publicly calling him problematic. They're publicly calling him a liability on their asset sheet, which is that's bold. That's you don't do that to Vince McMahon and expect him not to try and burn the world down. So who knows? But yeah, I could see TKO. I mean, CM Punk has history with UFC. He has history with WWE, obviously. And when he came to AEW, the entire company went to here. Like, say what you will about how, oh my gosh, he screwed up. You talk about culture. I mean, again, like this is my thing. The Black Pearl has such a great faction culture. That alone is worth it compared to having a CM Punk, because if you bring in CM Punk and he just tanks backstage morale, tanks whatever, but the company gets 1 million more views, is it worth it? I don't know. I don't know. Long term, I don't think so. So maybe he does.
Can I offer?
Maybe Triple H brings him in.
I'd like to offer a contrarian perspective. I don't think Punk is coming back to WWE. I don't think Chicago is going to happen. I don't think he's the draw that he was however many years ago that was. His return to wrestling was the story. It was exciting. Right. Now that he's been back, I don't think he's a draw. I don't think only insider marks, millennials are excited about Punk on any level. People living in nostalgia. But what does he do for acquisitions? He doesn't acquire new fans. He's not growing the company. He's not growing the product. I don't think, and people know, at least I would agree with Mike. I don't think he's ring ready. I don't think you can put a belt on him. I don't think he's healthy. And I think he knows it. And I think, so that's what I was like, bring him back as what? As what? Maybe in the booth? Like, okay, but is he a draw in the booth, or is he a tip of the hat to an era that's bygone? Punk, the legend of Punk is better than Punk actually was. The one pipe bomb and the Cena match and the taking the title and running out of the arena, which was all a work, by the way, was incredible. It was incredible. It will never be that again. It will never be that again. The same way if the rumor was that Stone Cold Steve Austin was rumored to be coming back in Chicago, we'd be going, as what? As what?
I mean, he wrestled his now last WrestleMania match was against KO in the main event of WrestleMania. So maybe, but CM Punk famously is the #1 pro wrestling shirt seller on the Wrestling Tees websites that aren't tied to
Okay.
WWE.
No, that's interesting.
So
I didn't know
he
that.
does move the needle. And when Edge came back, their big thing was, okay, CM Punk is gone. We need somebody on his level that can move that. Edge comes back, and the numbers just go like up, down, little down. But
Okay.
WrestlingTees.com or whatever it is, I don't know. I listen to a lot. Ironically, Mike, not leaning into your country of origin here, but Wrestle Talk, What Culture, and WrestleLamia, all famously very, very British wrestling sources, but they tend to be the ones who have the best, the funniest, the most insightful wrestling commentary. And they often, famously, Ollie Davis from Wrestle Talk is a huge CM Punk mark, whether that's real at this point or whether he's just leaning into the gimmick. But he talks about that all the time. And the reality is Adam Copeland did not move the needle the way that CM Punk did. One way or another, AEW can prove that with their ratings, with their merchandise sales, etc.
Right.
So
when the merch is set, he's still, I think, AEW's top, other than AEW branded swag. I think he's still AEW's top merchandise seller, because I just checked. If you go to AEWshop.com, they still sell CM Punk gear. They still sell CM Punk t-shirts. So they're doing that for a reason, because he makes money for them still. So, and like I said, I'm not saying if they bring him back, he's going to be, like I said, they're going to push him to the moon. He's going to dethrone Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But the way I was looking at it is because TV ratings, they just need to pick up a number for the networks to get a bigger number for their renewal. And like I said, maybe it's not going to make a huge difference, but even if you kind of like, oh, I'm done with CM Punk. If he comes back at Survivor Series and then they say, hey, we hear from CM Punk on Raw, most people, even if they're not fans of CM, they're probably like, oh, all right, fine. What's he going to start? How is this going to play out? And people are going to tune in.
I agree.
And then WWE gets to go to the networks. Look, we've got CM Punk. Look at the demo number bumped up this much because he was on it. And networks are like, oh, numbers, good. Give me. And then that's all they care about.
business.
That's a really good take. They might dangle Punk in front of a prospective buyer's face and say, we're going to sign the rival top merchandise moneymaker as well. I mean, that's a great take, Mike.
Because even if they just offer him, I'm just throwing out numbers, I don't know contracts, but even if they were to offer CM Punk, like, we'll give you a 1-year deal for $1 million, I don't know, this or that. That $1 million could help them in the short term get an extra $50 million from TV money. So I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, Fox famously, in fact, again, back to recent SEC filings, recent outside of the ring events, Fox just basically threw WWE under the rug. Wrestle Talk did a big expose on it this week. And one of the big things that they said is, we wanted CM Punk and WWE refused to bring him back. So they weren't playing ball the way we wanted to. So we're done. That's why they brought him back to Fox WWE Backstage show. They wanted him to be that face of the Fox branded WWE. And then when that didn't happen, and when Brock Lesnar started getting less and less appearances, and Cain Velasquez flamed out quickly, and Ronda Rousey decided she didn't like wrestling until she does again, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that was all things that Fox cited as why they didn't renew their contract with WWE. They specifically said it was not worth their return on investment. But here's what would have been. And CM Punk was one of the shadow figures that they kind of threw out there of, like, if they would have gone this way, we might still be talking to each other. Who knows?
Take that, Rusty. Huh? Well, Marks.
You guys
only Marks care about.
I'm with it. I agree. If broadcasting rights are if he's the lure to land it, I could see that happening. I could. I mean, I agree. You've convinced me.
If I've achieved nothing today, I've achieved that.
Well, Mike, I want you to achieve at least one other thing. But before we go, why don't you, that's right, you see that on the YouTube video. You've got that podcast mug. Why don't you promote the Black Pearl in your podcast before we cut this out?
So yeah, if you are looking for a faction in WWE Champions where it's kind of laid back and a lot of fun to hang out with, yes, you have to download an app that no one's ever heard of for the last 6 years, but whatever. You don't actually have to do it, but it's fun to do it. Yeah, the Black Pearl, check us out in WWE Champions. For me, you can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever Elon Musk's doing this week. At Only Mike Fish, the podcast at Wafflebox Pod on YouTube. Enjoy wafflebox.com to get the audio links, at Wafflebox on X. So you just plenty of stuff to follow me at Only Mike Fish on Twitch. Loads of ways you can keep tabs of me and keep hearing my wonderfully alluring sexual British accent.
That's right. Rusty, anything before we go?
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing: is there's probably a group of listeners out there that's just disenfranchised from the game. Maybe you've had a bad experience with a faction. Maybe you are feeling unmotivated. Maybe you're tired of spending, or maybe you're tired of being told, you're not towing the line. I would just, on behalf of our podcast and behalf of myself, I would encourage you to join a healthy faction like the Black Pearl, because it can be therapeutic for you. It can be a healing experience. You need to be in some good culture, just to restore your perspective on the game. And that's what the Black Pearl did for me. It restored perspective on the game after I chased hard, after I had to fill out forms and minimums and rotations and movements and so many of the things that Mike talked about that really just burnt me out. When Lee invited me back to play the game, being in that environment was exactly what I needed. So let me just say for that, don't give up on the game, but maybe give up on that toxic faction that you're dealing with. That's all for me.
And next week, we are going to be continuing this series of what does it look like to be a faction leader in the game. And we do have the faction leader of a toxic, but not toxic faction, Toxic Mafia in the mix. So want to thank Mike, want to bring in the Wafflebox shout out one more time. Go like, share, and subscribe to them on YouTube. Check out his Twitch. Check out enjoywafflebox.com and keep smashing gems together, because this is an amazing community. Let's create a good culture around it together.
Mike, will you teach us how to set up a Twitch?
Yes.